Okay, this is a shootout video comparing Superior Drummer to Luminous Drums. We're going to listen to a few different sounds and pay close attention to the dynamic response so that we can hear what makes Luminous Drums different from other sample libraries. To start with, we're going to compare the Superior Drummer Gretsch snare drum to the Luminous Drums PDP hammered bronze snare drum, and we're going from velocity 21 all the way up to velocity 127 in steps of 1 so we can hear the entire range. So first we'll do Superior. And Luminous. Let's listen again from the middle of the velocity range. Sorry, the Superior. And Luminous. So you may notice that Luminous is a lot smoother. That's because it uses a lot more velocity layers, and the layers are very carefully sorted, so they're absolutely perfect. It uses 64 layers for most of the sounds, and they're assigned to the top half of the velocity range, so you have one layer for every velocity number. Superior Drummer uses about 24 layers, and they're distributed in a different way, and there's some randomization. Okay, next we're going to listen to what a drum roll sounds like. Now there's one difference here. Superior Drummer uses one MIDI note, and it automatically alternates between left and right samples. Luminous uses separate MIDI notes for left and right for all the drums so that you can program rolls and get them to sound exactly the way you want. So here is Superior. And Luminous. Let's listen again from the middle. Okay, next we're going to listen to the rim shots. Let's start at the middle of the range again. Here is Superior. And Luminous. So you'll notice right away Luminous is a lot more consistent. It alternates between the four lowest samples up to about here, and then from here up to here it's one sample for every velocity number. Some of the snare drums have more rim shot samples and some have less, but they all have a lot of them. So okay, here's another thing you can do. You can layer the rim shot with the corresponding center hit. And here's what that sounds like with Superior Drummer. And here's what it sounds like with Luminous. That's a lot tighter and more coherent. That's because for Luminous Drums, all the rim shots are carefully micro-tuned, so they're perfectly in tune with the corresponding center hit. And we also make sure that the attacks are perfectly in phase. So you can layer things and it won't do anything unexpected. It'll do exactly what you want it to do. Okay, we're going to compare a few more snare drums. Superior Drummer is set to the Ayat Maple Classic, and Luminous Drums is set to the Leedy, which is an antique snare drum from the 1920s. Superior. Luminous. Okay, let's listen to a little bit of a roll. Superior. Luminous. Now, sometimes Luminous can fool you because the sound changes so gradually, but if you skip around, you can hear the difference. And it depends on the snare drum. Some snare drums change more with velocity than others. Okay, let's compare a nice low thumpy snare. So Superior is set to the 8x14 Lignum, and Luminous is set to the PV Radial Pro, which is a big, heavy wood snare made from a solid block. It's an unusual design. Okay. Gotta close this. All right. Superior. Luminous. Wow, that is nice and smooth. Let's listen to a roll from the middle. Superior. Some of those notes are really jumping out. Okay, here's Luminous. I think we can move on to the hats. Now, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so Superior Drummer has something like 14 or 16 hat variations. So here's all the variations in order. First, all the hat tip, and then all the hat side. Now let's listen to that again. You'll notice that there's really not enough variations. It goes right from tight to loose, and there's nothing in between. And it's also hard to tell the difference between tip and stick. So here's what Luminous Drums sounds like. Let's see. So this works a little differently. Instead of using separate notes, it uses key switching. So we're going to do the key switching in real time. Okay, so that's all the closed variations. Let's listen to that again. Whoops, finger slipped. Let's try again. Okay, and here are the open variations. There's also a bunch of pedal closed, like 3 or 4 pedal closed variations, but we're going to skip those. Let's listen to that again. Okay, now let's listen to the dynamic response. Where are we? There it is. Okay, so here's, I believe this goes from velocity 21 up to 127, and this is Superior, one of the closed hat sounds. Okay, and you might notice some of the samples are a lot more clicky than others. The sound is not very consistent. So here is Luminous. Okay, and that's nice and smooth, and that applies across all the different variations. Luminous includes 5 different hats, and every one of them has a ton of variations and a ton of velocity layers. Okay, now we're going to listen to the toms. Here is the Superior rack tom. And once again, we're going from velocity 121 up to velocity 127. And Luminous. That's nice and smooth. Okay, here's a roll on the rack tom. Superior. And Luminous. So like I mentioned, for Luminous, all the drums have separate MIDI notes for left and right. And we carefully match the left and right samples so that they have a similar sound across the entire velocity range. So you can get nice, realistic sounding rolls. Let's listen to that again from the middle of the range, Superior. Luminous. Okay, here is the floor tom. Superior. Now that is really uneven. you'll notice Luminous is a heck of a lot smoother. So here's Luminous. Okay, here's a roll on the floor tom. We'll start around the middle. Superior. Luminous. All right, much nicer. So Luminous is designed to do exactly what you program it to do. Now, when you listen to Superior Drummer, it can fool you at first into thinking it sounds more human because there's more randomness. But that can be very frustrating when you're trying to program drums and you want them to play back the same way every time, and you want to be able to do like little nuances and little micro dynamics. You can do that. You can do that much more effectively with Luminous because it has a lot more velocity layers. So now we're going to hear what they sound like with some actual beats, and I borrowed these MIDI sequences from one of the Superior libraries, which is called Decades. It has some very nice MIDI sequences recorded by a professional drummer. So we're going to start with a nice rock groove with some hi-hat. I guess we'll play all 4 variations. Okay, here's Superior. Luminous. Let's skip up here and play these 3rd and 4th variations. Superior. And Luminous. Okay, here's a ride groove. Superior. And Luminous. Okay, here's another ride groove. We'll just play a little bit of this. Superior. Luminous. Okay, lastly, here's a groove with some side stick. Superior. And Luminous. All right, that should cover everything, and thank you for listening.